5 real financial questions, 3 real experts with the right answers that you need. 5Q IQ Financial Power-Ups with Trajan Wealth starts now. I'm Jeff Jr., Trajan Wealth, founder and CEO, here with fiduciary advisors Marty Bryant and Corbett Leduc. So welcome to 5Q IQ, where we turn your questions into confident financial decisions. Let us know your questions if you have any at trajanwealth.com/5QIQ. Now today we're going to focus on, am I really okay? So first up, the question is, am I on track to retire? That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you merely said I was okay.
You're, some days.
I believe you
Some
are
days.
not okay.
Fair to Midland.
So am I on track to retire? How do we even answer that? Maybe?
So I'm gonna give the super simple answer for people who are not working with a fiduciary.
No.
No, you're not. So let's take, how much money are you making right now? What's your income? How much do you have in savings? And then the answer is probably going to be no, because if your expectation
When you say
is
savings, you mean retirement,
investments?
I mean everything. I mean,
Net
how
worth.
much money have you saved? And if at the end of the day, you're not saving money even outside of your 401k plan, you're not going to be okay, because most likely you're spending everything you have.
Mm-hmm.
So if your savings account's at $10,000 and your income is at $110,000, well, you're not going to be okay.
So
Sure.
what does am I okay really mean, I guess? You know, how much income do you want to earn in your retirement? So if you want to earn the same standard that you're at
Right.
now,
Mhm.
let's back into that.
Right.
So what does that mean?
That's the biggest thing. Is like, how much do you spend now? And the ability to know that, what does that look like in retirement?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got the go-go years, so-go years, and then the no-go years.
Mhm.
So the first years of retirement, yeah, you're probably naturally going to spend more because you're going to be traveling, doing all those things. There's a big difference between 75 and 65. So knowing
Age.
of age-wise, right?
Yeah.
Not driving down the freeway as you were thinking, but thank
I
you.
was thinking 95 on that.
The ability to know that, okay, hey, am I going to have the same, like you said, Jeff, standard of living? You know, no one wants to say, oh, I want to decrease my standard of living in retirement. No, you want to be able to enjoy it, nor do you want to work and then pass away 2 days after that. Then you never got to enjoy it. So I think to your point of knowing how much do I really need, I tell most people, like, look, if you can have at least 80% replacement income of what your income is now, you should probably be okay knowing that, yep, your spending is going to change as you get older.
Mhm.
More on Medicare, medical expenses, things of that nature, compared to more fun things in the beginning of your retirement.
The correct answer is it depends.
Work with a qualified financial advisor, spreadsheet it out, look
Mhm.
at it.
Taxes, inflation.
Taxes, inflation, the whole 9 yards. But
Mhm.
what if they're making, let's just say they are making $100,000 a year. When they retire, they want to continue making $100,000 a year. How much do they need in their savings and their investments?
Yeah, our new rule of thumb is 4%. A
Okay.
4% spend down to not, feed into your principal.
Right? Can you do that math in your head?
So, okay, Corbett, let's see. So unlike you, I can. I know the steam starts coming out of your ears.
I'm
but,
waiting
okay,
for
so $1
the
million.
number.
So let's say somebody has $1 million bucks.
Mhm. So
Now,
two
hang
and a
on a
half million
second.
bucks they need for
So
100.
right, 2.5
2.5
million. But I was going to do, so for the people listening, 4% rule,
Mhm.
if they have $1 million, because for some people, $1 million feels unattainable,
Mhm.
right? So $1 million at the 4% rule is only $40,000 a year.
Gross.
Gross, depending, it's most likely
How
they're,
it's structured.
yeah, and most likely it's going to be traditional 401k,
Right.
traditional, not Roth money is what we're talking about. It's all going to be taxable when you take it out.
Right.
So that's only going to give you $40,000. Then depending on when you take your Social Security benefits,
Yep.
if you delay your Social Security benefits until full retirement age of 67, and I say delayed because most people have that mindset of, oh, I'm going to take it at 62,
Mhm.
which is a whole nother issue.
Conversation.
Yeah. So let's say that they're going to get, and again, average salary, they got $100,000 a year. Let's say that they're going to have $3,000 a month, right? So that's
Who
$36,000
lives on $3,000 a month?
in
That's just
addition to
part
the
of it.
4%.
Yeah, that's just part of it. But
In
it's
addition to
taxed
the
too.
$40,000, right? Well, now
Okay.
85% of that's going to be taxable
Mhm.
of that Social Security benefit because they've exceeded the threshold there.
Mhm.
So now they're only at $76,000 in income. Where are they going to get the rest of it? How are we going to make up for that income replacement?
And that's assuming they retire when they start drawing Social Security.
That's correct.
Right.
That they work until 67. So, I mean, the math, you got to make sure the math is mathing. So
Yeah.
if you're
Not much good.
I like
yes.
yeah, well, no, when I'm assessing, sitting down and meeting somebody, for our first, interview, if you will, because we're interviewing each other.
Consultation we prefer.
Well, I'm interviewing them because I want to know what their expenses are, what are their savings. So in that initial interview, I can tell you almost 100% of the time, people are so far off based on what their expenses are.
Oh, yeah.
They don't even know.
They don't know.
Yeah. So when I ask them how much you spending per month all in, I usually get the answer, about $3,000, $4,000. Absolutely not. Not with the amount of money you're making and the lack of savings that you have.
I still remember the best one I had a guy about 10 years ago. I said, okay, what do you think you spend in a month? Oh, I don't know. My biggest bill is my cable bill. I'm like, really? You don't eat? Oh,
Right.
yeah, I guess that's true. Is your house paid for? No, I live in an apartment. So your cable bill is bigger than rent? Oh, yeah, I guess that's true too. I'm like, but the truth is very few people actually sit down, take the time, and look at what they really spend and
Right.
budget.
Because they don't budget.
Yeah.
I hear
Right.
more often now, I'm not worried about it. I
If you're
never
making
budget.
300 grand a year, hey, that's okay. As long as you don't have expenses that are close to that. If you're making 300 and you're spending 100, yeah, you're probably okay without having to have a budget.
Yeah.
That was a good
Yeah.
question. It was very broad. And I think the correct answer is it depends.
It depends.
Right.
Work with a qualified financial advisor who can, fiduciary advisor who can really lay out a plan
Mhm.
for you and with you. So
Right.
a lot of smart people are asking some version of this next question, which is, should I be worried about the market right now? And before we get into that question, we get this question all the time, no
Right.
matter what's going on in
Daily.
the market.
Yep.
Yeah.
So should they be worried about what's going on in the market right now?
Well,
Depends.
when do they want to access the money?
Right.
What's their timeline look like? What are they invested in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you need the money in the next 90 days, then the reality is you should not be invested in the market.
And if you need all of your money within the next 90 days.
exactly.
Then you
Yeah.
need to save more.
Right.
Right. The last thing you want to do is panic, get out. I mean, last year was a perfect example. We had the tariffs kick in, say mid-March. From about March 10th to April 20th, the market went down 16%.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're saying the market, we're talking S&P, NASDAQ,
Right.
Dow.
Right.
Right.
Mhm. Right.
But so again, it is also going to be determined, are you in an index fund?
Well, I mean,
Because if you're not, if you're in a well-diversified portfolio that's not just the S&P 500 index fund, then you might not have as much to worry about as if you're just like, all in indexes.
Right.
So look
Depending
at-
upon
I
the
mean,
index that you're in.
What do you own?
Mm-hmm.
And don't lose sight of the long-term focus.
Right.
Don't let short-term volatility affect your long-term goals.
Just like a roller coaster ride, the only time you get hurt on the roller coaster is if you're trying to get off in the middle.
Right.
So as long as you know it's going to do this, hey, I get that, I understand it. As long as you're not having heart palpitations and losing sleep at night, then it's going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But back to your point, Marty, I was saying, when do you need to start using these funds?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of just being broadly diversified too.
Right.
Right.
If you're all in the market and you don't have any short-term savings, anything to hedge a downturn, I could understand why you're incredibly nervous.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that also means that you know you're taking more risk.
Right.
And if you know you're taking more risk, you also have to have the wherewithal to know it can go down
Right.
just as quick as it can go up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's a matter of being diversified in a broad portfolio. And don't make a costly emotional mistake. I
Right.
mean, I've seen it, each of us have been in the industry for 25, 30 years. Collectively, we've got almost 100 years.
Yeah.
So we've seen so
God, we're
many
old.
people.
yeah,
We
you are.
So,
Woo!
so we've seen so many people
Right.
make the mistake of being gung-ho when the market is hot, and they go in and say they're growth investors or they're aggressive investors, and then the moment they lose money, they panic and they sell and they don't get back in, and they say, I lost a bunch of money in the market, I'm never getting back in.
Right.
So
Right.
it really is making sure your emotional tolerance matches what your goals are.
And for people who are considered an accredited investor based on, $200,000 of income last couple of years or $1 million plus in assets, how about we talk about an asset that's not correlated to the stock market, meaning
Absolutely.
it's not going to do the same type of movement that the stock
not gonna be
market
liquid,
does.
though.
Not going to be liquid, but if you don't need to access this money,
Mhm.
it might be a good idea to look at another investment class.
Right. Well,
to
also,
get
if you're
into it.
concerned about income, then annuities can come into play. So, now I've got guaranteed principal and guaranteed lifetime income, depending upon the same thing, when you intend to use that income
Right.
for it.
But just make sure that you're investing according to your long-term goals, and don't let silly emotional mistakes interfere with throwing you off. We've seen it happen time and time again, unfortunately. Let's say you're on track and you can live with some market swings, though. The next big question is what that money actually does for you, though. So one listener asks, how do I turn my savings into income without running out?
Annuities are going to be your best vehicle because they're completely guaranteed
Not
lifetime
all.
income. Well, when I say not all.
Not all annuities are guaranteed. Variable annuities aren't. You have to buy additional guarantees with a variable
Fixed
annuity.
index annuities.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
There's a
Well
few types of
done.
annuities.
Yeah. So different types on it. But
Yeah.
for ones that Trajan Wealth utilizes, fixed index annuities or fixed annuities are going to give you that flexibility for either lifetime income that's guaranteed as well as guaranteed principal you know, for decreasing volatility within your portfolio.
An annuity literally is the only product, and I mean only,
The only
one that will guarantee you an income in your retirement that you can't outlive. Sometimes people hear annuity and they cringe, and they don't like it. They don't know anything about it. They just cringe. They heard it was bad. Why does this stigma even exist?
So the stigma exists when annuities first came out. They may not have been as great as we thought they were. And as time goes on, they evolve.
Right.
Right?
What does that mean?
The illiquid nature of it, or variable annuities, which are still around.
Yep.
They can be extremely volatile and extremely risky
Because they're a security.
they're invested directly in the stock market, which also makes them very expensive. So for people who they saw their account values rapidly declining and decreasing and fluctuating with the stock market. Well, if you want to be in the stock market, that's where you should go. You should not go to a vehicle that is perceived as safer that is actually driven by the stock market. It's not safe.
Not as liquid.
Right.
When it's more expensive, but just as risky.
And then now back in the day, we used, and people can still do this with an annuity. It's called annuitization, which is the death of your money.
So what's annuitization?
Annuitization means now we're going to start taking money out of it. And let's say that you start getting money out of the account. You're getting $1,200 a month. You had, $150,000 in the account. You take 2 distributions out of it under annuitization, and you climb Mount Everest, you die. Nothing is left for a beneficiary. That money went into a pot.
Depending upon the insurance company.
Depending on the insurance company.
Not all annuities are created equal. There are good ones out there, and there are bad ones out there. If there is a bad experience that somebody has had with an annuity, it's probably one of the bad ones.
Right.
But there are a lot of good ones out there. They do a lot of good for a lot of people. Our next listener asks, how can I find out if I am paying too much in taxes? How do I know I'm paying the right amount in taxes?
Well, if you're getting a consistent large refund, you're paying too much.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Isn't a big refund good?
Absolutely not. It's free money to the IRS, and they're not going to give you a 0.5% rate of return on it like your
You're
bank
giving the
account
government a
would.
free loan.
Yeah.
Nobody should give the government anything free.
Yeah. Do an assessment. Have you had a life change? Did you have a child? Adjust your taxes for having a child, right? Because now you're going to have a child credit. Contributing into a 401k plan, traditional, non-Roth, right? Roth, your taxes will stay the same, but start contributing more into your qualified accounts.
And there are some things that you can adjust for that, especially if you're in retirement and different options out there where you don't have to necessarily increase your income, hence like a required minimum distribution. So which a lot of people don't really think about. Like, yay, I saved all this money. I saved on taxes now. And then when they turn 73, oh, hey, I've got to take out, $150,000 a year because I saved too much. So finding the right balance is key, especially as you get closer to that RMD age.
Well, and make sure to take advantage of deductions and credits that you have available. And there's a difference, right? A tax credit is a dollar for dollar reduction in your tax bill.
Right.
A tax deduction reduces your taxable income.
Trajan Wealth, we're really known as a family office. So a family office has the wealth management, the investments, but we also have Trajan Estate, which is estate planning, trusts, wills, and then also Trajan Tax, which does specifically what you're asking, which is tax planning, but also tax preparation, thus kind of the family office to encapsulate all of your family financial goals. So I'd say if nothing else, send last year's tax return to us. Let us take a look, and we can verify that you are or are not overpaying in taxes.
And what we can do to help you.
And what we can do to help going forward.
And one thing that I love, and I'm glad you brought up the family office, because historically, family offices were really thought
ultra
for
high net
the
worth.
exactly, the uber wealthy people, legacy money and all of that. And what you've created here at Trajan is something that everybody deserves to have, right? Tax code was written for us.
Yep.
And so we don't want somebody who's going to regurgitate a tax number for you and say, oh, have higher withholdings so you don't owe money.
But give you no tax strategy planning.
Yes, we want to incorporate that with everything, all aspects of your financial world. And that's these three areas.
We have an on-staff CPA, so we can not only help you file the taxes, but I mean, that's 10% of the picture of it for the taxes. The other 90% is tax strategy, donations, 401ks,
or
all
even
the
for
different
small
things.
business owners, defer your billing until next year and put that on next year's income.
Right.
So,
But also small business owners, like an individual 401k.
Right.
Something that came around probably 15 years ago that so many small business owners have no idea about. It's like, oh, I've got a SEP IRA. Well, that's great, but that's 30 years ago. The individual 401k, I-401k, aka solo K, gives you the much more flexibility to reduce your taxable income. Because for a lot of these small business owners, they have other assets. They have to kick out so much income just because of K1s and things like that. Hey, if I can shave off $76,000 worth of your income to do that, and did your CPA ever talk about that? No.
And our team is full-time. We're not dependent on referrals.
Right.
We don't sub it out. So let's close with a question that brings your family, though, into the picture. This listener asks, what happens to my IRA or my 401k when I die? If you've ever wondered what your accounts actually turn into for your spouse or your kids, you're asking the right question. So let's discuss what happens to that IRA or 401k besides going to Corbett when they die.
Back to, depends. If, Ken, in our earlier episodes before, classic attorney answer, it depends, which is true.
Yeah.
So if you're married, goes to the spouse, at least you'd better be, unless you have a notarized form.
Awkward conversation.
Awkward conversation. But, it's the contingency part. More people like to say, because that's the example I give in a lot of our consultations. If you and your wife go out on a date and both of you get taken out by that cement truck, then, what happens to it? Yes, you've got the kids, things like that, but if they don't have any kids, okay, and then that's a whole nother scenario.
Probate.
Well, probate if they don't have that contingent beneficiary set up, but then then it just turns this huge different thing. The change that they had from the CARES Act of only be able to use contingent beneficiaries, non-spouse people for 10 years. A lot of people don't really think about that,
right?
And knowing what happens to it. I know I talked about RMDs a little bit earlier, but also the ability for a lot of our clients that say, hey, I don't need all this income. And maybe they tie it to the church.
I think Corbett's just stressing the importance of planning.
Yeah.
But I think really, what happens to your IRA or 401k when you die is it goes to the beneficiaries if you have beneficiaries listed. If you don't have beneficiaries listed, it's going to go into probate, and then you deal with that whole probate scenario. And all this can be a little daunting. So if you need some help, simply contact Trajan Wealth. We've got fiduciary advisors like Marty and Corbett that are very happy to help you. So today we took am I okay from a vague worry to something that you can actually unpack. So are you on track? How do markets fit in? How your savings become income, and what taxes actually take? And what happens to your accounts when you're gone? What part of that still feels fuzzy for you? Anything? Let us know at trajanwealth.com/5QIQ. And share this episode with someone who'd like to plan smarter and dream bigger. One clearer step toward confidence today, I hope. That is a win. So thanks again for spending it with us on 5QIQ Financial Power-Ups with Trajan Wealth. And if you need further help, don't hesitate to reach out to Trajan Wealth. We would be honored to help. We'll see you again next week.